You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2009 thanks to Mega Mark Jamie Patterson via the Elder Spork. Will this game hold up today? Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All this plus gaming news and Clash at the Feast. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis, and today we are playing WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2009.
This also marks the return of Justin Leaper. But as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen and join the conversation on social media at GameMarksPod and on Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Georgie boy, what the hell's going on? How you doing?
Are we gonna start making a rule about our Mega Marks passing off their game selections to other people in the Patreon group? Because I don't know. Elder Spork's pretty mean to me, and I don't know if I want to play games that he picks.
But here's the thing. Jamie Patterson was like our first Mega Mark, pretty much, him and Brett Vance. So at some point, they're going to run out of games that they want. So I don't mind them polling the audience.
No, that's fine. And Spork's a great guy. It's just, you get thrown curveballs, games that you're not expecting to play, because we try to play things in order. We played the first SmackDown vs. Raw game some point last year, and I kind of was just like, all right, we'll just like pepper these in. But we were actually having a conversation a couple of weeks ago about how this Mega Mark game selection is great, where if you're a Mega Mark of our Patreon, you get to pick the game that we play, and you get to pick a game every month. The problem is, now John and I really don't get to pick the games anymore because Mega Marks are picking the games every week. So now we get to go out of order. We kind of don't know what order we're going to be playing games in. And while the OCD in me wants to go numerically.
Yeah, but
it's cool to have these curveballs.
Yeah, I love this. I love doing them not in order and just throwing them in here and there. But I do have to say, before we start this episode officially, if you have not listened to our interview from year one with Justin Leaper, go check it out now. Listen to it before this episode because he is the writer of the Road to WrestleMania series from 2009, 2010, and 2011. And he gives the most detailed insight in that episode on what it took to go through these games and develop the Road to WrestleMania, what went behind it, what his ideas were that were scrapped. There's some stuff with Hornswoggle, there's some stuff with Zack Ryder that you don't want to miss. And we also have some new questions that our Patreon subscribers submitted for this week's episode that we're going to read as well. But
let's do a little follow-up from last week. Let's just get this out of the way. Last week, I misspoke, and I had said something along the lines that Nintendo owned Sega. I was wrong. I had heard rumors about that happening years ago, and then in the middle of us recording, did a quick Google search, found an article that said Sega owns multiple, or Nintendo owns Sega IPs. That turned out to be wrong. So this is me admitting I did a quick Google search in the midst of us recording. I presented some wrong information, and I apologize.
Well, there was actually Microsoft almost acquired Sega, and if I misspeak, don't come with the torches towards me, but we'll see if that ever happens. I feel like Sega is just something that's just been floating around for a while, but enough about Sega, George. Ring of Destruction, Slam Masters 2, we played it last week. We both played it forever, just like Saturday Night Slam Masters. What a great series. What a great callback to a series we loved. What familiarity with Street Fighter. Like, if you haven't picked up Ring of Destruction Slam Masters 2, or even Saturday Night Slam Masters, go out of your way to check them out.
Now, we're not done with the Slam Master series because there's also Muscle Bomber Duo.
Duo, baby.
I'm very excited to play that. That's eventually going to come up. Maybe, depending on when the Mega Marks want us to play that one. But yeah, and I think that might be it for the Slam Master series.
I think that might be it, but I think we'll also be playing them again in the future. Game Barree's coming up.
Oh, baby.
But let's go through the weekly schedule this week because Monday, today, if you're listening when this episode drops, you also get it ad-free in the Patreon. Tuesday, you get the show notes and GMP Game Over starting back up next week. Cannot wait, George. Now,
yeah.
Wednesday, Future Endeavor. This week, George, you're playing WWF Royal Rumble. I will be playing one of our probably least favorite games we've ever played, Wrestle War, which is not good. You have your live Wednesday stream. What is that, at 8 o'clock every Wednesday?
8 o'clock on Wednesdays, but this week we might have a special guest.
Yeah, we might be doing something a little different on Wednesday. Thursday, I like to put out a little bonus playthrough of an older game. I've done Mickey Mousecapade. I've done Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle. Who knows what I'm going to play next? James Bond Nightfire happened. And Friday, of course, Clash and Burn. I'm working on a new guest, and hopefully I can make that happen. But, Georgie, take us through the streamer spotlight for the month of October.
Still waiting for that invite for Clash and Burn. I guess my email got lost in.
Yeah, it's
just sitting in drafts.
It's somewhere with my Hogwarts letter.
All right, well, the streamer spotlight for the month of October is twitch.tv/huffdat42. For the last couple weeks, you've heard me talk about how this guy just plays everything. He is a very, very good variety streamer. He plays New World. He plays Rock Band. He plays Diablo 2 Resurrected. He's played Destiny. He plays Fortnite. He plays everything. If you name it, he's played it. He plays WoW. He's always up and up on all the new and hot games. I've been friends with him for a really long time. He is a Twitch OG streamer, been around for a while. And you know what? I think it's time that everyone goes and shows him some love. Twitch.tv/HUFDAT42.
Love it. But with that, guys, YouTube.com/GameMarksPodcast. Simply search Game Marks Podcast in YouTube. We have everything you want on that YouTube channel. We have playthroughs of wrestling games, playthroughs of non-wrestling games, old Twitch streams. We have GMP64. We have episodes. We have interviews. We have exclusives. Go ahead on over right now and subscribe. We are currently at 375, which is incredible. And when we hit 400, we are going to be dropping in video and audio the video game history of the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, Hawk, and Animal.
All right, let's throw it on over, John, to some gaming news. Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
A new report has emerged suggesting that WWE 2K22, which is set to release early next year, will finally be adding GM mode, which has been requested for years. Although there's no official word from 2K Games or Visual Concepts yet, it is said that it might be announced by the end of 2021. According to Millie Amand, who has been a reputable video game industry insider in recent months, 2K Sports will finally be adding the mode back to WWE 2K22. With DC Fandom Now, with DC Fandom just one day away, those looking forward to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League don't have to wait until then to see more from the game. Developers have been sharing artwork from Kill the Justice League periodically over the past couple of weeks, and on Friday, another image was shared to show off the main cast. Considering how this image looks a bit different from the artwork we've seen before, it also appears that this is the first in-engine image from the new Suicide Squad game. And that's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. So, another thing, Georgie. Friday, October 15th. A couple days after my birthday. Usually this is the birthday tradition where I get the new NHL, and I did this year. And I didn't play last year's too much because I kind of waited till it was free on EA Play. So I didn't buy it. But now that my EA subscription's only on a PC and NHL refuses to ever convert to PC, I bought it on PlayStation. It is great. It's a nice refresher. It's a brand new Be a Pro mode with a beautiful franchise mode. That's what I like playing, doing my fresh expansion team called the Clash. And maybe I'll do some streaming of that and take you guys through some of that season.
Oh, I love that idea.
All right, we could create the logo, the arena, and all that. I think that would be cool.
Great.
Yeah.
All for that. And, you know, we touched on it last week. There's too much to cover right here. The big items we covered last week, but Comic-Con, obviously, last week, huge reveals. I mean, if you're a wrestling fan, you've absolutely probably, I'm assuming, seen the photo of John Cena and Danhausen, of John Cena and all of the other wrestling cosplays. It's cool when you get to see stuff like that. And you know, John Cena at Comic-Con, how do you not love that?
John Cena at Comic-Con, but Danhausen. At the time of the drop here, guys, I have just wrestled Danhausen and Brian Myers at Creative Pro Wrestling. What a guy. What a character. It was great. It was probably one of my favorite matches I've ever had. But all right, that's the gaming news. We want to head on over to our brand new segment, the Mark Out Moment.
Let's go.
What's up, Game Marks? Are you trying to look your best while repping your favorite video game podcast duo? We know just the place. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod to pick up your favorite GMP designs, including our various logo tees, Future Endeavor, the classic NES Pro Wrestling style tee, and of course, Mark the F Out. Order today and receive a phone call from us. You never know who will pop in. That's ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. Play it forever.
All right, so the Mark Out Moment is an opportunity where John and I can highlight cool things that are happening in our little community here. It's a cool review, an awesome comment, just a cool question that you guys ask. It is a spotlight for you guys, and if we highlight you, if you are the Mark Out Moment of the week, you get a Game Marks podcast prize pack. This week, it is a review from the Commissioner.
Ooh, the commish, the host of the host of GMP64 WrestleMania.
And David C. Anderson says, the game marks are over. Stopping by to leave a 5-star review for my friends Johnny and George. They have by far the most comprehensive podcast for any and every professional wrestling video game you can think of. The fellas have worked hard and have built a tremendous community of folks who enjoy the product. And you will too. So subscribe, rate, and review the Game Marks podcast today. David C. Anderson, commish. Listen.
I'm going to send him some grips.
My community loves to give David C. Anderson, our community loves to give DCA a hard time for what happened at FWF. But in his defense, he was just trying to protect me. And, I'm still here recording this podcast because of DCA, the commish. Who knows what CPA would have done to me?
Who knows? Troy Nelson probably wouldn't have done anything, but... All right, that's the Mark Out Moment for this week. George, are you ready? Are you tiptoeing? Because I know I'm ready to deep dive into WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2009.
All right, so WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2009, released November 9th, 2008, published by THQ, developed by Ukes. Oh boy. The consoles that this game is released on: PS2, PS3, PSP, the Wii, the Xbox 360, and the Nintendo DS. Now, there's not a whole lot of wrestling games coming out to compete with this in 2008, but John, you wanna let the people listening, you wanna let them know what came out in 2008?
Absolutely the greatest game of all time, TNA Impact.
Clash Loves Dicks by E. Carter.
Yeah, but you also don't see too many games like this come out for the DS either, and this one, it happened. It definitely happened. It also came out for the PSP, so there were portable ports. We're going to cover those in great detail one day separately, so we're not going to jump into them too much, but we'll give you some little insight here.
Portable ports, eh?
Portable ports.
Portable ports, all right. So, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009.
All right, Game Boy Advanced, calm down.
It was very, it's a SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 is the 10th game. 10th, John. What? 10.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So obviously, going numerically, 2007 starts us off, then 2008, this is 2009, and you get 2010. Now, the difference in this game is that you get, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, John. You get an Inferno match, a revamped tag team match, and 4 new game modes: Create a Finisher, The Road to WrestleMania, Career Mode, and Multiplayer Season.
All right, but let's talk about that DS version quick before we jump into the new stuff here, because visually it does look good. But, the double screen on the DS, so you have the actual gameplay below, and up top you have the health bars, which is, I think, the best way to do it. But for the DS, I always hated using the bottom screen for most of the work, because I felt like that touchscreen just wasn't as good as the top screen, if that's I don't know. I don't know. It just felt weird.
It's a strange thing to have a wrestling game stretched out over 2 screens.
Yeah, and for the DS, it had like an RPG type element for the season mode. So obviously, you're not getting your Road to WrestleManias and the high quality graphics and play styles that you're getting on a console, or even the PSP. The PSP is fairly close to the actual console release. It's just a little dumbed down, and that's even, I don't like saying dumbed down, but you know what I mean. And you kind of just have that season where you have the free roam. You go around, interact in the training room with other characters. You have the WWE shop. So they give you your money's worth here for the DS. But I don't think that's the favorable port to play this on. However,
so are we treating this like how we treated all the other handhelds? It's its own game. It'll get its own episode. We'll do a full breakdown of it then.
Yes, but unlike most of the others we've played, this one is very similar to the actual game, just not all of the pieces.
Okay.
But I'll say this. I don't think it was this one. I think it might have been 08 for the PSP. And it was the same story mode. It was the same everything you have for the console release. It was just little less graphically, and the story and the Create a Wrestler itself, for some reason I remember making Billy Gunn and going through the story mode. It's just a little less. You don't get the full thing. Like, there were some parts missing.
Yeah, I feel like that's just like comes with the territory.
You have to expect that. But it's cool to know that, like, you're going on vacation or going to the store with someone, you're bored, you want to wait in the car, you have something to play that you're familiar with.
Yeah. But Now, I just wanted to bring up something. So earlier on, I said that it's the 10th game in the SmackDown vs. Raw series. Now, obviously, this is 2009, and the SmackDown vs. Raw series starts in 2005. So, according to the WWE, the SmackDown vs. Raw series is... the way that they look at it is from 2000, from the original SmackDown, all the way to 2K22. They consider that the SmackDown vs. Raw / 2K series of games. So everything from WWF Smackdown to the game that is coming out the end of this year, 2K22, is considered to be in that same lineage of games. And
oh man,
I just got a big problem with that.
I have a lot of problems with that. You switch developers, you switch publishers. It's not even. I get it because everything has built on top of itself to leading to today. But for me, the SmackDown vs. Raw series starts at SmackDown, and it ends at WWE. Yeah, like it ends at when WWE 12 comes out. So no, I'm even going past that. I'm going to the SmackDown vs. Raws. They're the same game. They're built on the same thing.
In my head, it's the SmackDown series, and that's SmackDown to Here Comes the Pain. Then you have the SmackDown vs. Raw series. Then you have what I would just call like the WWE series of games. And that's where I'm like, it goes from 12 to the 2K series.
Yeah, see, I cut it off at 12, so I cut it off after SmackDown vs. Raw 2011.
That's an interesting question. You know what? Let us know what you think about this. How do you, in your brain, because now obviously we know how WWE brackets these games. They think that, from the year 2000 to 2022, that's how these games rank. But let us know what you think. How do you, in your head, separate the SmackDown games?
Didn't we do this like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks, like last month?
Did we?
Yes.
Oh, well, shit. Then cut that out.
No, we'll see. I still want people's opinion, so let's get.
Well, if I did, I apologize for repeating myself.
But all right, let's go into these new game modes here. So create a finisher. This was something I did not like using because
I love this.
People used them against me, and they were doing the most ridiculous things. Where I just tried doing like a basic Outsider's Edge, but it like flips into an X Factor, and you couldn't do it. I don't know. You had to add like 360s, and it was just the 500 animations were hard to use. And then you just keep going. You do like 10 spots in. You're like, how do I finish this? With just like a slam? I don't know.
I just loved when you would because we've talked about this. I think we actually talked about this in the WrestleMania 21 episode where you were really big into the online aspects of the wrestling games, and I was not.
Right.
So like all of the issues that you have where it's like people would make these ridiculous moves and like they would be so like insane. Like I understand that because I was also making those moves, but I was making them because like I downloaded, I don't know, Spider-Man or Venom or just like some whatever ridiculous character, or I made a character that was like ridiculous. I was like, I wonder what the most insane finisher that I can make in this game is. It'd be like, all right, you set him up into a power bomb, then you flip him up again, and you go from the power bomb position, you lift them up, and you now you've got them in like a fireman's carry, and then you do a Death Valley driver, and you roll over into something else, and like.
Yeah, I just remember online getting hit with like a quadruple stunner into like a super kick into like I don't know. It's a cool concept. I just would get really, really annoyed by it. But also we have tag team improvements where, as you know, the cover, we're going to get into it later, DX is on the cover, one of the most world-renowned tag teams. So now you have tag team finishers. You have ring apron control where you could call in your partner. You could do taunts. You could get the crowd involved. And now you get the hot tag, so you could fill your momentum bar. I remember this being a little too forced as well. Like, this kind of just changes the whole dynamic of a match. And as we know from just playing it, these matches are really quick. So then you get this hot tag element where now maybe both guys weren't down on the ground, but now they both are. Now they're reaching for their partners. Now someone has a special. It kind of throws a whole wrench in there.
Yeah, it's definitely a different pacing. I don't know if that's the right word. That just coming from, I mean, honestly, like if we're gonna call a spade here, we've talked a lot. We talked about it in the GMP64 Q&A episode. The pacing of the current 2K series of wrestling games is so slow. Even if you change the momentum of the match, there's just still like a sluggish pace, and like it stops at random places that you wouldn't think that it would. This is like, holy crap, like a match can end in like 3 minutes. It's insane. You hit one big move like right off the bat and your guy's down and you have a special and you could go right from there. The good thing is you don't, one finisher doesn't keep the other guy down. You kind of have to hit multiple.
But also another aspect is when your finisher, when you're blinking, when you have a finisher, it asks you to either store a signature move or use a finisher. So say you're running out of time, like, you know, if you watch GMP64, George likes to run around the ring when I have a special. If that happens, if someone does that to you, you can now store it and use it later, not as a finisher, but as a signature move. So say you're The Undertaker, you can now do either like the Hell's Gate or a chokeslam later, or you could do a tombstone now. So it's kind of a cool dynamic so you don't waste any finishers.
But, all right, so this is the game with a game mode that would kind of set the stage for, I mean, this is the basis of like a showcase mode. This is the basis of the story modes going forward. I mean, this is the bread and butter for me for this game, and that is the Road to WrestleMania. It debuts in this game, and it replaces season mode from previous titles. Now, Road to WrestleMania is a staple in this series until it gets removed in WWE 13, and has unique storylines for John Cena, Triple H, The Undertaker, Chris Jericho, CM Punk, and a tag team storyline for Batista and Rey Mysterio.
So good. Just so good. You know what's great? That they gave you this, but they also did give you story and you have your career.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what you can, like, showcase mode is really, because this is not the same as like a story mode that you get in like 2K19 or 2K20.
Right.
It's not the same, but it's kind of like the showcase mode where it's like, hey, there are storylines now revolving around specific wrestlers, and you're going to play as specific wrestlers and play through these storylines. And for me, as a youth playing this game, this had a great amount of replayability, and that's something that we always talk about when we're reviewing games, is that if you're going to pick up a game and you're going to play through it, it needs to have a balance of a single player campaign or a single player playthrough mode, but also needs to be fun when you're playing it with friends or you're playing it online. And I feel like this game has it because of this Road to WrestleMania mode. And then you compound that with a career mode and a season mode. Like it just, this game has a lot, and it's just packed onto a disc, and it's, I don't know. I think wrestling games need to go more back to this recipe.
Yeah, I love it personally. And I think, maybe 2K22 is going to give us that with the story mode and GM mode returning. So,
fingers crossed.
I think with that, we're going to go to some questions now. We mentioned to listen to the Justin Leeper episode that came out 2 years ago. I really suggest you all do it. You can find it in our archives or on YouTube, where you could just go back and listen to what it took for him to develop these games and develop the Road to WrestleMania mode. So I had our Patreon listeners do a little Q&A. They submitted some questions to Mr. Leeper, and
so
he sent.
This is the last time that he's going to be on the podcast, right?
Oh no, we still have 2 more games he's involved in.
Oh no, I'm saying after the Patreon questions. I'm assuming that he's never going to want to work with us again.
I rewrote some of them.
So how about we do this, John? I will read the questions that our Patreon submitted, and you can read off Justin's answer.
That sounds great.
Okay, so the first question is, what was the game plan with taking mediocre games like SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, turning it around, and releasing one of the best games in the SmackDown vs. Raw series?
All right, and Leeper says, something people don't always realize is when they're unwrapping their brand new game, we're well on our way to making the next one. For Road to WrestleMania, I was already getting outline approvals and starting full scripts before the previous game even shipped. That is to say, many of us didn't know 2008 would be lame, and we didn't have much time to dwell on it. Something I always say, you pay for a disappointing game in the sequel. That's why Titanfall 2, Watch Dogs 2, Metal Gear Acid 2, and SVR 2009 didn't sell as well as maybe they deserve to.
So the next question is, were there any talks to link the Road to WrestleMania mode with Legends of Wrestling, seeing as the 2 games were linked?
I think they mean Legends of WrestleMania, but Yes, nothing of the sort was said in earshot of me. I was barely aware of Legends' existence when working on Road to WrestleMania mode. I'm glad I wasn't asked to shoehorn in Legends. I was often given an incredible amount of creative freedom. I, of course, did use plenty of them over the years. Snuka, Jake, Dusty, Cowboy Bob, always in service of the story.
The next question is, were there any other wrestlers under consideration for Road to WrestleMania?
And Leaper says, Jericho's story was the first we made. What we in the game call the vertical slice, but actually Lashley was the original protagonist. When we heard Jericho was returning, we fought to retrofit the story to him, and it worked out pretty well with the Y2JS code, but turned against him. Also, I originally wanted Mick Foley in either the Taz or Dreamer roles in the Punk story. I forget why WWE didn't go for it. I'm Becky Lynch all of a sudden.
What are some of the more difficult things about a yearly release like this?
When designing an annual release, everything eventually and quickly comes down to priorities. A, B, C. Those C's rarely have a prayer. A small example. The phone in the Road to WrestleMania locker room menu appeared as big as a laptop, but by then, we were only fixing things that were game-breaking no matter how much I begged. A bigger disappointment, Free Roam in 2011 wasn't to my satisfaction. I was crestfallen that we couldn't get more people cycling through back there. I assumed we could stream them in and out like a Royal Rumble system, but I was no programmer.
Was there anything in the game that Justin wanted to include, but he was unable to?
And he says, I was never good at answering what didn't make it in, and I'm asked it maybe most often. Thing is, in my head, I overwrote, turned down stuff almost immediately out of necessity. When you reach a dead end, you don't bang against the wall, you turn around and find the clear path. In my director's commentary videos, maybe I unwittingly spark some memories, but as I sit here at 12:30 a.m. on a Saturday night in Tokyo, sitting on my couch with my wife's legs draped across me, nothing comes to mind. Sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting him during that great moment.
Jeez. Anything that's hard about working across multiple generations and platforms?
He says, you're for sure held back a bit by the less powerful systems. Ukes were masters at porting. Think all of the platforms, not to mention the several languages, but we had to ration the ways we made SKUs, different versions, distinct. Stuff like the DX Green Goo or the falling masks were different on higher and lower end platforms, but we couldn't tweak everything. That led to lesser consoles like the PS2 or PSP having some odd angles or maybe missing effects. I will say we always lead on 360, and only recently playing on PS3 do I see what a difference there is between the two. Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely did not know that. And then the staple of all of our Q&As, can you do a kickflip?
And he says, when I first ventured to Japan to meet with Ukes, I had to introduce myself to everyone. And talking about my experience as a pro wrestler, I threw a high axe kick as I was wearing just socks on carpet. As it is the custom, I went over the tea kettle in front of the whole company.
Ass over tea kettle.
I went ass over tea kettle in front of the whole company. Does that count as a kickflip? I mean, technically, he kicked and flipped, so... Yes?
I mean, isn't that how the Claymore was made?
Oh, pretty much. But we cannot ever thank Justin enough for always contributing to this podcast. We love his insight. He's so good. He's also a really great wrestler if you want to go watch his videos from back in the day. But head on over to his YouTube. It's called Violently, one word. Or you could go to youtube.com/2tontongue and check out his videos. He does director's commentary. I think he did a playthrough with Ken Anderson on some of them, who's one of his good friends. So go check it out.
Oh, wow. All right. Yes, like John said, a huge thanks to Justin Leaper. But is it time for us to jump into this massive, massive roster?
Yeah, but before we do, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
All right, so here's what we're going to do here, John. Being that it is the SmackDown vs. Raw series and the rosters are split, I figure I will take the Raw Superstars and Divas. You will take the SmackDown Superstars and Divas, and then we'll talk about ECW and DLC characters.
Sounds good. You going to start us off?
Yep. All right. So your Raw roster is as follows: Batista, Chris Jericho, Chuck Palumbo, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Hardcore Holly, JBL, John Cena, JTG, Kane, Kofi Kingston, Lance Cade, The Masked Man, Mr. McMahon, Paul Linden, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Santino Marella, Shad, Shawn Michaels, Snitsky, Tony, William Regal, Ashley, Beth Phoenix, Candice, Jillian, Layla, Melina, and Mickey James.
Good guy, Tony. Now your SmackDown superstars: Big Daddy V, Big Show, Brian Kendrick, Carlito, Kurt Hawkins, Edge, Festus, The Great Khali, Jeff Hardy, Jesse, Jimmy Wang Yang, Mr. Kennedy, MVP, Ric Flair, Shelton Benjamin, Trevor Murdoch, Triple H, Umanga, Undertaker, Zack Ryder, Maria, Michelle McCool, and Victoria.
Why did the Umanga pop me so? So right off the bat, before we jump into ECW and the DLC, a huge difference of divas from the Raw roster and the SmackDown roster.
Yeah, only 3 for SmackDown's a little
That's
sus,
crazy.
but yeah,
that's weird. But your ECW roster is the Boogeyman, Chavo Guerrero, Elijah Burke, Finley, John Morrison, Mark Henry, Matt Hardy, The Miz, Taz, Tommy Dreamer, and Kelly Kelly.
All right, and your DLC here: Bushwhacker Butch, Bushwhacker Butch, Bushwhacker Luke, Charlie Haas, Chris Jericho, Doink the Clown, Evan Bourne, Super Crazy, Ted DiBiase, and Vader. Now, funny how Chris Jericho is the DLC, and many may wonder why. And as you could hear from the questions to Justin Leeper, he was just returning to the WWE, so I guess they had to slide him in as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's I very vividly remember the Chris Jericho return.
Oh yeah, all of them.
It's just like it's so cool, and it's so crazy to think that, like, you know, he's DLC in these games, and now when the AEW game comes out, he's going to be a very prominent part of that game.
This is pretty much when he came back as John Bon Jovi, right?
Yeah, this is that weird long on the sides, and it's like the
it's living on a prayer,
wave
Jericho.
in the front. Yeah.
Yeah. But you also have arenas here. You have Raw, SmackDown, ECW, Judgment Day, Saturday night's main event, One Night Stand, Vengeance, Night of Champions. That's one, Vengeance, Night of Champions, before they're split. Great American Bash, SummerSlam, Unforgiven, No Mercy, Cyber Sunday, Survivor Series, Armageddon, Tribute to the Troops, Royal Rumble, No Way Out, WrestleMania, what is that, 24? WrestleMania 24, and Backlash. Now, Tribute to the Troops, that's where you heard us mention Tony on the roster. Tony is a big prevalent part with Road to WrestleMania mode. Him and John Cena become friends. He's a troop, and that's where you get the Tribute to the Troop arena. But you know what arena I hate? It's not necessarily in this game, but Cyber Sunday was at one point Taboo Tuesday, and I absolutely hated Taboo Tuesday, the name in general.
Now, for those of you who listen to the Off the Hop Rope podcast, you know it's not Taboo Tuesday. When Troy Nelson says it, it's Taboo Tuesday.
That's why I don't listen to Troy Nelson do anything.
Yeah. Go buy that shirt. ProWrestlingTees.com/Off the Hop Rope. I made it. Support the guys. Yeah, I mean, the Taboo Tuesday logo itself just screams welcome to the internet. Like it is just so early 2000s. Like, I'm pretty sure there's like a mouse pointer in the logo, and either one of the O's is
it's not even the logo, just a stupid name for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That was my gripe. And on a Tuesday, like, get out of here.
It's going up on a Tuesday, John.
Going up on a Tuesday, but all right, let's move on here, because I think the coolest part of this game, the cover, the artwork, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, featuring ECW. Now I get it. The title of the whole series is SmackDown vs. Raw, so you have to feature ECW. It can't be SmackDown vs. Raw versus ECW. It's also not as competitive with ECW as, say, NXT. Well, I guess NXT 1.0 used to be. So you just kind of get the featuring ECW there. But Triple H staring a hole into your soul. Shawn Michaels behind him. DX, some nice green lighting effect behind them. It's such a simple cover, but it's so cool, and it has to be one of my favorites. Speaking of posters in the past few episodes, I want this as a goddamn poster.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure it exists. I'm pretty sure. Isn't there a poster with the special edition?
I think so. No, maybe, but we're going to get to the special edition in a little bit. The back cover, Together, You're Unstoppable. In WWE, the only person you can rely on other than yourself is your partner. You each have each other's backs, and together you can accomplish more than you ever could on your own. And it shows Triple H and Shawn Michaels with a nice back suplex neck breaker with a big DX logo behind them. It is beautiful, but it also highlights the new features: Tag Team Explosion, Create a Finisher, New Inferno match, and Road to WrestleMania. Another simple back cover. I know you're not going to be too fond of just the squares with the screenshots, but I think they do a little justice here.
I'd say it's a mix of both. So like the square screenshots, obviously we've talked about how like I just feel like that's always just like kind of like a lame cop out, but the use of the tag team move with the DX spray paint behind and like the green tint, it's cool. So you get one really big, cool focal point of a design and then the square screenshots. This works for me. I like this. This is cool. And like you said, it fits in the theme of that front cover. Obviously, this game is centered around the new tag team mechanics and DX. So it's just cool. The game itself, I think I say it probably 4 or 5 times to you in the middle of us recording our tournament Clash at the Feast. I know that I said it to you throughout the week, just multiple times, about how surprised I was with how much this game holds up graphically.
Oh, yeah.
The face scans look great. The animations are not as dated as I would expect a game from 2009 to be. The moves are clean, the animations are clean. There's like a couple things here and there that are like, oh, okay, this is a little dated and stuff like that. But like overall, graphically, I think the game holds up. The mechanics and the controls we're going to talk about in a little bit, that's a different issue. But graphically, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I could completely agree with what you said. I think during playing also, I mentioned that the controls are a little wonky. I'm not a big fan of having the D-pad used to control your wrestler, but then the run button is right above it, so you're kind of using like your index finger and your thumb at the same time to run, and it's a little awkward. You once again have that same reversal mechanics where L2 is strikes and R2 is grapples, which is a little weird. You kind of have to predict what the other guy's doing, but if you're me and George and you play against each other a million times, you can. But some of it was a little weird. Like X to get in and out of the ring is always a little weird. But playstyle, I want them to go back to this simplistic playstyle of just grapples and punches and just do stuff. Just wrestle. That's all I want, is just a wrestling game.
Yeah. I feel like this is one of those control schemes where, like, at the time when this is all you know, at least they were consistent with the controller schemes in the SmackDown vs. Raw series, but now it's so different for like the WWE series of games and then for the 2K series of games. Like the controls are so different that every time there's that new update to the controller scheme, there's always that backlash from the community. And this is now going, I guess, back to an old one, and it's just as frustrating because you're like, I'm already familiar with the current one, and now I got to go back and learn this other one. And like, you get that muscle memory when you're holding the controller. And you're like, this is a PlayStation controller. I'm playing a wrestling game. These buttons should do this.
Yeah, it was a bit of a little, maybe like a little in between before they actually figured it out and made it the way everyone likes it. But let's talk about the actual art style here of the game, because it's very, very beautiful. It's simple. You have a beautiful backstage area, but the ring itself, everything looks so realistic, so real. George, this might be one of the best SmackDown vs. Raw or WWE crowds in any game, because everybody is unique. They're all animated. They have actual faces. They're not pixely. They don't look like slug people. I think it's great. I think the whole arenas look great. I think when it comes to perfect graphically, this game might be it. Also, all the way up to
time, it ticks the boxes. That's for sure.
Even the PS2 version, you don't have that much loss here. But even the health bars are up above. It just has your name. It has your stored special, and then just your meter. That's it. That's all you need. You have a what body parts hurting on your wrestler. But I feel like some games now you just have too much going on where you have like your signature, you have your abilities, you have this and that, and just keep it simple, guys. Just keep it simple.
Yeah. There's less is more, and simple is always better.
Yeah. I think my favorite part was, did you know? Did you know you could give any wrestler their own entrance music from any audio file saved on your console's hard drive, although this feature is restricted to the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of the game?
Did you know this game marks the last appearance of Snitsky, Elijah Burke, Candice Michelle, Jillian Hall, Lance Cade, Trevor Murdoch, Big Daddy V, Chuck Palumbo, Ashley, and Taz as playable characters? This is also the only game to feature Jimmy Wang Yang.
Did you know this game runs on eBay around $10 to $20 used, $40 to $80 factory sealed, and $85 to $100 for the collector's edition?
Now let's talk about this collector's edition because...
But first I just want to say Elijah Burke is in the mobile TNA game, so relax, guys.
Okay.
You can still play
now,
it soon.
The collector's edition... I have never been more torn about packaging ever. Because
it's unique.
It's this cool metal case that goes around the game. And it's got like the plaque that has the SmackDown vs. Raw logo, but it covers the artwork of the actual PlayStation disc.
It does, but it's a little see-through, so at the same time... Listen, you're taking it out regardless to play the game, so you're going to see it. But I guess for display purposes, yeah, it's a little weird not to see it. But maybe,
like, if you're
the light...
buying this to
the light
put in
hits
the
it.
case or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. It does have, like, the holes where you could see through it a little bit, so maybe, like, you're sideways, you could see the actual artwork. I don't know.
Yeah.
But edition itself comes with a nice, cool, like WWE gold stand with that cage-looking cover that George spoke about next to it with the game itself, and the Best of SmackDown vs. Raw Blu-ray, which has Matt and Jeff Hardy on the cover. Now, a similar edition was released in Europe also, but it features a plastic ring, which has the same dimensions as a Blu-ray case, so that kind of wraps the game itself around it, and it comes with the same Blu-ray that the American version came with.
Now that's pretty cool. I like that. Give me a special plastic ring as a display for a collector's edition game. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But let's talk about something that we really don't talk a whole lot about here on this podcast. Let's talk about some figures here because there are SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 exclusive DX figures. You see a figure of Shawn Michaels and Triple H. They are wearing a shirt that has the SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 logo on the packaging. You see the images from the cover, and I gotta say, it's pretty fucking cool.
They're cool, but they're so ugly back in the Jax era. But you honestly don't get this too often anymore. You get the SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 Rey Mysterio, where he's wearing the shirt, and you get this one, and then you really get All-Stars, and there's not much video game-wise that has, like, figures with it, which I feel like these are pretty awesome. And you know what? Looking at them on eBay, there's some expensive, but there was also some, if you don't mind, like, little dings in the package. There was some fairly cheap.
Yeah, and this is definitely something that I have looked into getting just because I know the pool of wrestling figures that are tied in with video games is small. But because of that, I know that they're very expensive. So that's why I've been hesitant to to add them to the collection. But it's definitely a unique piece of merchandise because, like John said, there's such a small amount of these that exist.
Yeah. I think we can give them a good old play forever. They're pretty nice.
Yeah.
But this has been a long one so far. We had Justin Leeper join us. I think we need to sit back now. We need to listen to that beautiful flute music and enjoy some R&R, some ratings and reviews.
I'm ready.
All right, so let's start with the PS2 here. Game Rankings gives this a 77.4%. Metacritic with a 78 out of 100. GameSpot with a 7.5 out of 10. GameZone with a 7 out of 10. And IGN also with a 7 out of 10. Now, the PS3 Game Rankings gives this a 78.14. Metacritic also with a 78 out of 100. Destructoid 8 out of 10. Game Informer 8.5 out of 10. Game Revolution a B. GameSpot 7.5 out of 10. GameSpy 4 out of 5 stars. GameZone 7.5 out of 10. IGN 7.8 out of 10. And PS Magazine with a 4.5 stars. The Wii version. Now, we don't talk about Wii versions of these games very often. I'm happy to see it here. Game Rankings with a 78.28. Metacritic with a 79 out of 100. Wow. GameSpot with a 7.5 out of 10. GameZone with a 7.7 out of 10. IGN with a 7.8 out of 10. And Nintendo Power with an 8 out of 10. And now your Xbox 360, which takes the cake so far. 7.9 out of 38 on the Game Rankings. Metacritic with a 79 out of 100. Destructoid 8 out of 10. Game Informer 8.5 out of 10. Game Pro with a 4 out of 5 stars. Game Revolution with a B. GameSpot with a 7.5 out of 10. GameSpy with a 4 out of 5 stars. Game Trailers with an 8 out of 10. GameZone with an 8.5 out of 10. Now, Giant Bomb gives the PS3 and the Xbox 360 version a 2 out of 5 stars. I don't understand that one. I use Giant Bomb for a lot of research in these games, and might have a little word with them. IGN with a 7.9 out of 10. OXM with an 8.5 out of 10. So Xbox 360 pulling in the high numbers with the PS3 version. PS2 version didn't do that bad either. Neither did the Wii. I miss seeing these game ratings these days.
Yeah, this is definitely I feel like it's like a lost art. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, not even a lost art, but I think about what we get with 2K19, 2K20. You're getting 2s and 4s. You're not getting 7s.
Yeah, that's
and 8s
what I mean.
here.
It's like a good reviewed game. It's nice to see so many reviews for a game across so many platforms and by so many different, I guess, publications or companies. Like the last couple of games that we've done, I feel like they were either not super popular games or they're international games where there's not a lot. So this is nice to see a wide range of reviews from a lot of different companies across a lot of different consoles.
Yeah, seriously. It's on everything. I love it. But,
yeah, it's awesome.
But those are the ratings from the professionals. But how about the ratings from us, the Game Marks? Because right now, it's time to rate the games.
The game!
All right, John. WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2009. Will you play it forever or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Alright, so I feel like when you get to the SmackDown vs. Raw series, there's just so many games. You have to be picky and choosy with them, which ones you want to play it forever, which ones you want a future endeavor. But I feel like when you get to this game itself, when you get to the Road to WrestleMania modes and the longevity of these games, it's so good. Look at the ratings. They're incredible, and we enjoyed so much replaying this game. If I ever have the chance to buy this disc and put it in my PS3, I'm going to say right now, play it forever, baby.
Ooh.
But now I turn it to you, George Feis. Anything is feasible. SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, will you play it forever? Future endeavor.
This is an easy play it forever. Now, I will say this. The controls, first time you play through, maybe even the first couple of times you play through, that muscle memory from current games or whatever old wrestling game that you've been playing that doesn't or may not quite line up with this game, it's going to be frustrating. But when it clicks and you get it, man, there's just something that is just so appealing about this game, graphically, animation wise, it's just all around. It's just a nice, it's a feel good wrestling game. It definitely feels and stands the test of time.
100% agree. But all right, with that, we're going to go head on over to our weekly tournament, Clash at the Feast. this week's episode, head on over to youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast and check out when we play SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, but last week, Ring of Destruction, Slam Masters 2. I mean, I'll just say it this way. You wipe the floor with me, and that's that. This is your type of game. We all know it. We all have seen it before, and I kind of just should have laid down from the start, but yeah, you took the second week of October.
Well, let's talk about this for a second here. You have, what is it? It's 2-3 right now, right?
3-1.
Oh, I thought you won 2 months.
No.
It is 3-1 right now. And if I win SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 and you win what we're playing next week, that means that we're at a tie. Which means that we need a tiebreaker.
That's true, but we also do have 2 games left of this series of Mega Mark games, so I guess we could use the November 1st episode as the tiebreaker if we have to.
Or
oh,
what if the tiebreaker was GMP Game Over?
Ooh, or that, yeah, we could do that too. Or a 1v1 in Rust, I don't know.
You're always suggesting that because you know I don't have it. But all right, are you ready to talk about what we're doing next week? Because this isn't a hey George, tell everybody what we're playing next week. We got to talk about this.
Yeah, so next week's going to be something we've never done before, something rather unique, and we've been talking about it. I feel like even more lately, we've been talking about tabletops and card games. So next week, I have purchased, and we are about to play, thanks to Tecker. This is his game. He chose it. WWE Legends Royal Rumble card game. We're going to bring in some guests. We're going to have the full deep dive of the card game, and we are going to go to town. I cannot wait.
I am very excited to play this one. It's something that has been on the radar. John and I have talked about it both on and off the podcast. Wrestling card games are few and far between, and the ones that have come out, some are great, but most are bad. So really looking forward to playing this one, especially because it is a Royal Rumble card game, and you know how much John and I love the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so let's do it next week.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out all of our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop. Join us on Patreon, Patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Those are the best ways, besides listening, to support the podcast. And be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. And submit your Markout moments. I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be a cool little segment that we have every week now. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. We will see you next week for the Royal Rumble card game. Johnny Clash, do that thing.
I said, game over, Marks. Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no game shard. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.